the Philadelphia Flyers made a significant trade, moving Ivan Provorov and getting a significant return in terms of draft capital to take on a couple of bad contracts from Los Angeles. They also got some other pieces from Columbus, and including that top pick. So they get in the trade, they get an additional pick. And what I think that the reason I bring up that trade as being so important for the mock draft is I think that this was our first signal from Daniel Briere, the new general manager of the Philadelphia Flyers. Things are going to change in Philly, and the rebuild may be in the offing. We started hearing rumors that Carter Hart could be on the move. There's been a lot of speculation that Kevin Hayes will be on the move. There's a lot of, kind of a reset happening in Philadelphia. They're kind of going with the brand new orange and, trying to set this whole thing with Daniel Briere and Keith Jones as their brain trust on the hockey operations side. We don't have a lot of indication of how Daniel Briere is going to, structure his staff going forward and different. He has made some significant hires and has made a couple of changes here and there. But largely the amateur scouting staff is still intact and everything is kind of the status quo there. Will they continue to make the same decisions that they've been making, or is Daniel Briere going to put a new stamp on the team? And so on the mock draft, and I'm not going to go through every single pick. I'm just going to, after this, we'll jump around a little bit. But I did want to get to this one because I think Matvei Michkov is going to be a real possibility for the Philadelphia Flyers, and I'll tell you why. If Daniel Briere is really serious about rebuilding, if he is absolutely sure that this team needs a reset, there are a few ways to make a bigger splash at number 7, which is kind of just outside the range of those foundational prospects, those guys that are going to make a difference in your future, in the long term, the near term. There's a lot of other players that have plenty of other risk, and Michkov has plenty of risk himself, but he has possibly some of the most boom potential that we're talking about here. Could he be a significant piece for the future of the Philadelphia Flyers? And I'll tell you what, I don't think Daniel Briere is going to be afraid to make that call because he is starting to make those decisions. How long have the Flyers resisted rebuilding? They have resisted it for years and years, even though it probably needed to happen more recently. So if they do this teardown, you're not going to need Matvei Michkov until his KHL contract is up. He still has 3 years left on his deal. Would you like to have him sooner? I'm sure. But this is a guy that still needs to develop physically. He still needs to get, more reps at the professional level. We started to see him really come on last year, but now let's see what he looks like when he is playing for SKA St. Petersburg, when he is getting big opportunities with one of the big clubs where he's going to be a star player. And so I really do think that Danny Briere has an opportunity here to make one of the splashiest picks of this draft at number 7. And I don't think you can make a bigger splash in that range than with Matvei Michkov. So if you're a Philadelphia Flyers fan, you're probably not feeling too patient right now. If you draft Michkov, patience is going to be the thing. But they also now have that pick at 17th overall or 24th overall, or 22nd overall. So let's just keep guessing. So they have that second pick that they got from Columbus that previously belonged to Los Angeles, and they have a chance to draft another good player. I mean, the first round is very deep this year. There's plenty of good options. I think, in our mock draft, David Edstrom was the pick there as a big center with skill and some speed. And he's also a bit of a raw prospect. So that's another patience play. If Philly goes through and does this full studs down to the studs rebuild, then they're in the mix for Macklin Celebrini next year. They're in the mix for another top pick. So they are going to start building a foundation of players and prospects that are going to be part of the new era of Philadelphia Flyers hockey. And I really do believe if there's going to be somebody that's going to take that swing, we don't know how risk-friendly Danny Briere is going to be as a general manager, but I cannot wait to see what he does because I do think that Michkov will be a potential option for the Philadelphia Flyers. And that is really the pick that could set off the whole thing. I think it's one of the most fascinating storylines going into the draft. When does Matvei Michkov go? Where does he go to? And what are the things that they say about that pick after it's made? Because it is an absolutely fascinating kind of experience to see what these teams are going to do. I think there's a lot of teams in that top 6, 7, 8, 9 that, that they have to really consider Michkov, but will any team actually pull the trigger? I do think the Flyers have a chance to be that team. So that one will be absolutely fascinating.